Okay. We usually picture human progress as this grand, sweeping movie directed by highly visible, famous leaders, right? But in this explainer, we're flipping the script. We're going to look directly into the shadows. We're tracking down the brilliant, unsung minds who quietly built the reality you and I live in without ever once asking for the spotlight.
So, who actually wrote human history? We're kind of conditioned to believe it's a stage entirely dominated by famous figures. But what if I told you the absolute most critical decisions, the ones that literally determine whether humanity survived or thrived, were made by folks whose names probably never even made it into your high school textbooks?
There's just this massive, fascinating contrast between the kings, presidents, and generals who get all the monuments and the hidden architects, the scientists, organizers, and engineers. These quiet innovators were busy actually solving real world problems in labs and control rooms. They are the ones who truly engineered our progress.
Let's kick things off with the most basic human need of all survival. Now, if we rewind back to the mid 20th century, global populations were absolutely exploding. Prominent economists were literally sounding the alarm, predicting inevitable mass starvation. Food production just couldn't keep pace with human reproduction. The future? It looked incredibly bleak. But while the population boomed and traditional wheat yields were stalling out dangerously short, an agricultural scientist named Norman Borlaug stepped up and changed the math entirely. Back in the 1940s, Borlaug went down to Mexico and quietly developed these incredibly high yield, disease resistant varieties of wheat. And this new wheat, it absolutely shattered traditional crop yield limits. And the result of that quiet revolution is a number that is frankly hard to wrap your head around: 1 billion. Historians actually estimate that Borlaug's agricultural breakthroughs saved over 1 billion lives across Mexico, India, Pakistan, and beyond. He prevented global famines on a scale the world had never seen, all because he chose to solve a problem right there in the dirt, completely away from the cameras. Now, another one of these architects operated not in a sunlit wheat field, but deep underground in a Soviet military bunker. His name was Stanislav Petrov, and his story is honestly one of the most terrifying yet deeply inspiring moments in all of human history. Picture this. It's 1983, literally one of the most dangerous peaks of the Cold War. Right in the middle of Petrov's shift, the early warning alarms start blaring. The computer is reporting that American nuclear missiles are incoming. According to strict, unbreakable military protocol, Petrov had roughly 5 minutes to make a decision. Protocol demanded he report the attack, which would have instantly triggered a massive Soviet counterstrike and, well, World War III. But under pressure that you or I can't even imagine, Petrov relied on pure logic. He looked at the system, saw it was only showing a handful of incoming missiles, and deduced that a real preemptive American first strike wouldn't be just a few missiles, it would be hundreds. So, trusting his gut over a multi-million-dollar machine, he declared it a false alarm. The system was glitching. Petrov effectively saved humanity by simply having the immense courage to hesitate. So while Petrov saved civilization from total destruction, other hidden figures were laying the systemic groundwork for modern medicine. When we think of medical breakthroughs, we usually picture famous doctors in pristine white coats, right? But the true foundation of modern biology rests on a much more complex, deeply human story.
Back in 1951, the discovery of HeLa cells changed biology forever. Derived from a patient named Henrietta Lacks, this became the very first stable human cell line that just kept reproducing rapidly and surviving entirely outside the human body. For the first time ever, researchers possessed a reliable, immortal biological canvas for experimentation. Now, Henrietta Lacks received practically zero recognition during her life, yet her cells became the ultimate testing ground for global science.
And the ripple effect here is staggering. Every major modern medical field, we're talking vaccine development, cancer research, genetics, virology, has been fundamentally impacted by HeLa cells. Honestly, if you've ever had a modern vaccine or benefited from genetics research, your health is directly connected to Henrietta Lacks. Her legacy is literally living inside the medical treatments we all rely on today. Now, I want you to think about the device you're using to watch this explainer right now. Whether it's a smartphone, a tablet, or a laptop, it exists in its current globally connected form because of our next hidden architect, Tim Berners-Lee. In the late 1980s, researchers were really struggling to share information across different clunky computer systems. So Berners-Lee proposed a fix. He invented the technical building blocks of the internet: HTML to structure pages, HTTP to share them, and URLs to address them. He literally created the World Wide Web. But what he did next, that's what actually altered the course of human history. See, Berners-Lee could have so easily patented his creation. He could have charged hefty licensing fees, locked down access, and easily become one of the wealthiest people on the entire planet. But instead, he made this profound philosophical choice. He chose the open web. He gave his monumental genius away to the world for free. And in doing so, he proved that sometimes the greatest influence comes from removing barriers, just letting global sharing and rapid innovation run wild. And that brings us to this really beautiful realization about how human influence actually works. It's the ultimate butterfly effect. A scientist develops a formula, a programmer writes open code, a military officer hesitates in a bunker, and those split-second actions ripple out across generations. Invisible hands are constantly building, constantly reinforcing our modern reality. There's this amazing quote by Jonas Salk that perfectly captures the pure motive of almost all these hidden architects. After he developed the polio vaccine, which saved millions of kids from a terrifying disease, reporters asked him who owned the patent. And he famously refused to patent it, just saying it belonged to the people. They all prioritized humanity over personal profit. When you really look at it, the foundation of our modern civilization, the clean water systems designed by unnamed engineers, the global web access given away for free, the eradicated diseases cured by unsung researchers, the food security pioneered in quiet labs, it's all one vast collaborative project, built in equal parts by people who never once sought the spotlight. So the crucial takeaway from this explainer is a total redefinition of influence itself. True influence isn't measured by fame or wealth or how many bronze statues get built in your honor. It's measured by solving practical problems, by prioritizing humanity over profit, making the absolute right call under unimaginable pressure, and passing critical knowledge down the line. True influence is just the sheer number of lives improved because someone simply chose to fix a problem in the shadows. The world we live in is still heavily reliant on people working quietly behind the scenes. So look around your classroom, your office, or your neighborhood today. Who is the next hidden architect? Because the next person to change the course of human history is probably sitting somewhere quietly right now, just putting in the work. And I've got to ask you to wonder, could it be you?